Should healthcare be considered a right if it saves people's lives?
Healthcare is really important. Nobody can disagree with that. The question is, what happens if you call it a right? And I just have a philosophical problem with that. Rights always have corresponding duties. If I can claim a right, it means that somebody else has the duty to fulfill that right. So if I say I have a right to life, you have a duty not to take my life from me. Healthcare is a life and death issue, but if you say healthcare is a right, do you realize what you're saying at the same time is that somebody else has a duty to care for my health? Okay, well, who is that? It can't be government. Government is just people. So you tell me which person in society has a duty to become a doctor, nurse, caregiver to provide health care for me? Who is that person? And if they won't do it, do we have the right to compel them to become a doctor? I get why people talk about healthcare as a right, but if you call it a right, you have to understand you're saying someone else has a duty to become a caregiver. I want doctors that don't have to be compelled to become doctors. I want doctors to be doctors because they want to be doctors.
Spent the morning in A&E because I stepped on some glass this morning and I could not get it out of my foot. And I felt a little bit incompetent. I was like, should I really be going to A&E for this? Like, I should be able to get this out of my foot. But then they couldn't get it out either. So then I was like, okay, this was the right decision because the doctor can't even get it out. Yeah. So basically they had to give me a bunch of like numbing shots and then slice open my foot, and it was, very gross. But it's always such a weird experience having to go to A&E as an American in the UK, because it's like, so nice that when you're done, you just leave. It's like, oh, thank you very much for helping me. Bye. And it's just not what it is in the US. Don't have to pay anything. I just say, like, thank you very much, and I'm on my way back home. And that's why I don't want to move back to the US ever. It's also why I love the NHS.
Well, friends, welcome to the Sheep Get Sheared Podcast. We're here to talk about people, politics, and popular culture. I'm your host, the one and only Austin Creed, and my friends, this is going to be a really interesting show because, look, this is a very hot-button issue, very important. A lot of people have their own opinions on healthcare. Everybody has their opinions on it. Everybody knows where they stand on it for the most part. And so, what can I add to the discussion is the question. Do you think it's a human right? Do you view healthcare as a human right? Do you think that it's something that everybody should just get? Well, I would like to pull up Exhibit A to answer this question. Let's look to a benevolent United Nations. And let us look at what they classify as human rights. It says, human rights are rights inherent to all human beings, regardless of, go down the list, race, sex, nationality, ethnicity, language, or religion, any other status that they want to include. It says human rights include the right to life and liberty, freedom from slavery and torture, freedom of opinions and expression, the right to work and education, and many more. Everyone is entitled to these rights without discrimination. Is that right? Well, I can't help but notice that this comes from the United Nations. And I also can't help but notice that in the United Nations, there are countries who do not subscribe to this mentality of human rights. Let me ask you a question. Let's see. Life and liberty. Well, according to that logic, there shouldn't be abortion because everybody has the right to life, right? No, well, that doesn't count, I guess. Liberty. Ask China. Is there a lot of liberty over there? Iran, Saudi Arabia, Iraq. No, I'm not seeing a whole lot of liberty. Freedom from slavery and torture. We'll tell that to the mullahs in Iran, Saudi Arabia, and all those other countries. China, the place where slavery still exists on the planet. They didn't get the memo, I guess. Torture. To tell that to the Russians and the Chinese and everybody else who are still torturing people who happen to be on the UN Security Council. Let's see. Freedom of opinion and expression. Well, given that, again, I don't see a lot of that happening amongst the countries in the UN. There seems to be a lot of suppression of freedom of speech, even happening in America, which is supposed to be the lighthouse for the bastion of freedom. I'm not seeing a whole lot. I'm seeing a whole lot of censorship going on. The right to work and education. Afghanistan. Again, you notice these reoccurring countries keep coming up. They keep presenting a problem to these so-called human rights. And I also can't help but notice that healthcare is not on this list. Very interesting, isn't it? But you know what we're going to do today? I want to play you a little clip. That's not little, it's a couple minutes. But I want to play this clip from Bernie Sanders talking. Yes, the same guy, Bernie.
Vermont Senator.
Hold on, we ain't ready for that yet. All right, so here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna play some of his speech. Y'all ready for this? All right, let's get this started, shall we? Without further ado, Bernie Sanders, the Lenin of our time. Let's get it.
Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders.
Yay, Lenin's coming on stage, yay.
Let me be blunt and tell you what you don't hear much about in Congress or in the media. Every study done shows that Medicare for all is the most cost-effective approach to providing health care to every man, woman, and child in this country.
Oh, is that right? Well, according to that, I mean, why is everybody obsessed with healthcare? Yeah? Hopefully the sound came through all right on that, but my friends, what is the obsession with healthcare? Can someone kindly explain to me why you think the government likes healthcare so much? Why the politicians keep trying to sell it to you? Number one, they're not actually going to give it to you. That's number one. Just so you know, Obamacare is kind of socialized medicine. Well, kind of. It is basically socialized medicine. But here's something that I don't think anybody's told you, at least not that I've heard. I had to look into this myself. First of all, before I bring that up, look at this. We might get back to the clip of Bernie Sanders in a little bit. Look at this. Well, you might ask, what am I looking at? Hospitals among the U.S.-Mexican border are being overwhelmed. In other words, they're having to close up shop because the illegal aliens are pouring over the border and getting free health care. You wonder why you have to pay like $100 for or $10 for an aspirin? This is why. This is why. Second, I'd like to correct that lady in the second clip I showed on TikTok talking about how, oh, it's so wonderful, I didn't have to pay anything. Yeah, schmuck. Yeah, somebody else paid for your health care because you're broke. Again, this is the problem. Law 40, according to the law, 48 laws of power, says to despise the free lunch. Why? Because there's no such thing as free. It is a misnotion. It is a lie. It is a scam because someone always pays. When someone loses something, someone else gains. In a socialized system of healthcare, the rich pay more so that the poor can get things they can't afford. And make no mistake about it, even if you have universal healthcare, you're not getting the best quality healthcare. You think the people that treat the top 1%, the top 10%, the people who make oogles of money that pay for their own private practice doctor, do you think those clinics are going to open up to the poor bum in the street? No. You think they're going to open up to people who are a little lower class? No. Why? Answer. They don't have to. And why the hell would they? They lose money. This is the problem with socialized medicine. Is because it makes the healthcare less so that everybody gets an equal amount of inferior care. It also incentivizes the drug companies to just produce what they already have instead of trying to invest in future medications. They just don't have the money. Because they're having to forcibly lower their prices and the government steps in. It makes the system worse. But of course, and here's an entire another dimension that we haven't discussed. Why do you think that the government wants to control it? You ever asked that question? Oh, it's because the government's nice. The government's full of nice, caring people, and you know what? People actually care about people like Bernie Sanders, Dianne Feinstein, and Nancy Pelosi, who was in power for so long. And Joe Biden, they just care about you so much. They want to give you free health care. They want to give you free education. They want to give you just free everything because they like you and care about you so much. That's why they're doing it for you. That's what they have you believe, but in actuality, in fact, it's not. In fact, it's the opposite. They just want to control you. Let me ask you something. If the government controls healthcare, wouldn't it then mean that they also control the access to healthcare? Because if you can't afford it, and they're the ones giving you the money to pay for it, who do you think gets your medical records? Who do you think determines what your healthcare will be and what medications and whatnot you'll get? Answer: the government. The government basically gets to decide whether you live or die. Oh, did I say that? Oh, I can't believe I told you the truth. Oh, I guarantee you they're not going to like that. Just look at Cuba. Cuba's a prime example of what I'm talking about. What do they like? Rub the leaves of the guava into the wounds? Well, explain to me, if universal health care is so great, can you kindly explain why Castro and his brother and his buddies over there in Cuba, when they get sick, they go to Miami instead of going to their own doctors for treatment? Can you kindly explain that to me? Answer: because their system sucks. I don't know who the first guy was in the clip. If someone knows, they can leave it in the comment section. I don't know who that guy was, but he was very smart in the first clip I showed you earlier. When you say something is a right, it has to be protected and also being able to be given. Look at the Constitution. They talk about life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, right? Originally, it was supposed to be life, liberty, and property because they were quoting John Locke, but then Jefferson disagreed with Locke on that. Long story short, I won't be one of those people that thumps the Constitution, and there's enough of those people already. But when it comes down to it, my friends, healthcare is not a human right, in my opinion. It is something that you earn. If you abuse yourself by eating like crap, not exercising, not caring about yourself, why should it be my responsibility or anybody else's responsibility to take care of you? The government only wants to do that because they want your vote and they want to add another dimension and hold the power over you. That's why they want control of it. Not because they care, but because they want control. You don't like what I'm saying to you? Well, that's too bad. And in fact, things could work out better if we weren't giving illegal aliens health care for nothing. The people who can't vote, supposedly, anyways. And can you kindly explain? You know what? I'm going to go off on a tangent. I might as well. Can you explain to me why the government cares so much about illegal aliens? And why we have no voter ID laws in this country on the federal level? Answer: because the government uses the illegal aliens to stay in power. Oh, you thought that they're there because the government just cares about the life and liberty of every human being, and they want to make sure that everybody's cared for, loved, that they have a nice warm bed to sleep in, and the government is just so nice and caring. No. The government's doing it so that they can get votes from them so they can stay in power. Oh, Austin, everybody knows illegal aliens can't vote. Oh, really? Do you think the nice, kind, older ladies with the tennis shoes that they bought from Walmart, do you think they're going to stop the illegal alien drug dealing pimp? Like, he can't go vote? Or anybody else, they can't vote? No, they're not. As someone who's from California, I remember when I went to go vote for the first time, I went to show them ID, and they're like, oh, no, you don't need to do that. And I said, huh? What do you mean you don't have to show ID? Vote. Well, what kind of country am I living in? An island nation like Trinidad has voter ID laws, and yet we as a country, supposedly one of the most advanced civilizations on the face of the planet, don't have voter ID? What kind of country am I living in? And you wonder why certain people stay in power and, spit on the taxpayers every day? I don't know. And you wonder why all the hospitals are closing along the border with Mexico. I don't know. You wonder why the birth rate's collapsing amongst citizens, but yet the illegal aliens are having babies in large numbers. Again, and then don't get me started about the tort lawyers, the medical malpractice lawsuits. They're also adding to the healthcare boondoggle. They're the ones adding to it as well. With a doctor even sneezes or does something wrong, they lose their license and get absolutely destroyed, and the system gets destroyed. The system gets fleeced for millions of bucks. That also adds to it. You get rid of the tort law. You get rid of the tort lawyers that are vampires on the system. You get rid of the illegal aliens on the system. And then all of a sudden you might have a somewhat decent healthcare system. Might actually work. But of course, that's just me thinking out loud. You can call me any name you want. I prefer to call myself, ahead of my time, a prophet of sorts. But you know what? Go ahead. Go ahead. Keep telling me that I'm a racist, that I'm no good, I don't know what I'm talking about. Go ahead. Go ahead. See if I care. I don't care. My friends, at the end of the day, the politicians who want to give this to you, quote, for free, nothing is free. Someone has to pay for it. And all it does is make the people on top suffer, which to some of you commies out there might be a good idea until you realize that it's them who reinvest that money back into the business that produces jobs for you and your children. But of course you wouldn't know that because either A, you have a government job, or B, you don't care and you're uneducated. If people lived healthier lives, we wouldn't need this conversation. Back in the day, people actually were fit. Now, apparently, half of Americans can't even do 10 push-ups. Yeah. Why? Probably because they weigh over 400 pounds. That might be a little difficult. There used to be a time, I believe it was back in the 60s and the 70s, when America was very fit, very healthy. Yet now, I think, like 1 in 3 or 4 people is obese? And we wonder why we have all these healthcare issues and healthcare problems and everybody needs healthcare all the time? You'd think we were a nation of wheelchairs and crutches, when really we're just a nation of fat people who always need everything. Triple bypass, reduction here, implantment there. The whole thing is ridiculous. But my friends, I think I made my point. What are your thoughts on the healthcare issue? I'll be curious what you have to say. But until next time, my friends, God bless you. God bless your family, and God bless America. We're out of here. Peace.